All right, guys. Bryant back again from Rock Life Studios in Monticello, Kentucky. I've got Dan Carter with us today. Again, how you been, Dan?
Been doing well. How about you?
I've been busy, doing a lot around the shop. Man, it's the springtime is just unreal. It brings out all the riders, and that's what we like. So, big weekend down in Alabama this weekend.
Right. We were able to run the Outlaw race at Chakalaka Mountain. Not sure how we ended up overall, but we had a good time. Had some brake issues, so we weren't really pushing the car 100%. But we were in a points chase with the Outlaw series, so we decided to show up and at least try to get some points, if you will.
Yeah, I think you're in third.
I think so.
Yeah, for the season. There's a couple right on your heels, but you're in third right now.
Right.
Uh,
So
so tell
we're
us
gonna do a
how does and I think we've talked about this before. Outlaw runs two at a time, but it's not like knockout. You got a more or less a lane one, lane two.
Right. So the way this works is um, they have three different classes. It's the UTV class, the Pro Am class, which is supposed to be uh, have somewhat of a factory frame underneath them,
Mm.
and other than that, it can be full on whatever. And then they have the balance class.
Like the
Uh,
pro am, you talking UTVs or like Cherokees and stuff.
no, it's like a Cherokee
Right on.
thing, not necessarily Cherokee. This it's more or less kind of reminds me of the Truggies. Uh, you
It's
know, the
it's our VIN class on roids.
right.
Okay.
So, and that was kind of our thought for doing the VIN class was something to essentially do the pro am class with, but the VIN class rules, you really couldn't be that competitive in the pro am class because these are, I mean, you might as well say they're a rock bouncer and
Hmm.
full on full cab truggies with uh, probably 500-600 horsepower LS engines, coilovers, four links. I mean, tons. It's not close to the VIN class that we what we call VIN class.
Yeah.
But it was cool to see those guys run. But I can't really remember. They do them in order, so it's like usually like the pro am guys will run, then the UTVs will run, and then the big bouncers will run. For whatever reason, there was a vote to let the UTVs run first for uh, the Shakalaka race. But you're right, so they do two at a time, and there's a yellow lane and a blue lane. At each event, they draw for numbers. If I'm not mistaken, the odd draws like blue lane and even numbers run the yellow lane. And then after the break, they swap back up. So everybody essentially runs the same hill, just at different times.
That would be I don't know. That's just madness to me trying to keep up with that.
Yeah, it was kind of chaotic, in which it's I believe this is their seventh year, and I feel like they're just finally getting the bugs ironed out of it, but it's still chaotic at times. There's still a lot of um, things that are said in the drivers' meeting that you don't see reciprocate throughout the race. Um, so I don't want to get too deep into that, but uh, they've got some kinks to get ironed out, and then there was kind of a miscommunication for entry fees. I know online people were saying that it was supposed to be $20, whether they were charging 40 at the gate. I don't know who that was on, if it was on the park or if it was on the series.
I seen that too, and the park was the one responding to people who were asking how much it is. They were saying $25, and when they got there, it was 40. So that's one thing that these series used to do on their flyers was they had ticket prices
Right.
on every flyer, and everybody's kind of moved away from that. And I'm not a fan of that, and that goes for I think our series as well. You don't know what ticket prices are until the day of or real close to the races, and that shouldn't be a guessing game. If you want people to bring their families out to the races, they need to know ahead of time so they can plan, budget, whatever.
Right.
And like at Chocolaca this past weekend, if you had a family of four, and you showed up expecting it to be $100 to get in, and it ended up being 160. And then on top of that, you get there, and from what I understand, I was not there, so if I'm wrong, please don't shoot me. They said there was no food vendors, very minimal facilities, hard to see. So you throw the frustration of those ticket price, I had not disagreements, disparities. You throw that on top of the ticket prices, and I can see where that's going to hurt some people, hurt some people's feelings, hurt some people's opinion of the series, and that shouldn't be a thing. And that goes for everybody, not just Outlaw, not, and I'm not knocking them. It's boys, I couldn't do it, so I don't do it. That's why I'm here, turning wrenches, not trying to organize a race series. But things like that, I think, can't be happening if we're going to all be successful. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Like, it's something that, if you're a single man wanting to go to the woods and check out the race and ride around and have a laid back weekend, the $25 versus $40 is really no big deal. But when you start incorporating taking your family to these events, we're trying to grow the sport. We can't do it like that. Like you said, if you've got a family that you've prepared for a certain dollar amount and you get to the park and,
Yeah, and
you
like
know,
I said, the $40 doesn't bother me. That's really, uh, it's actually inexpensive. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that expensive. Uh, as long as you know it ahead of time.
right,
That's the thing. And then there's too many food vendors out there wanting somewhere to go.
right.
I don't know who that falls on, but there needs to be somebody on site, even if it's just somebody from the park cooking hot dogs and hamburgers.
Oh, yeah,
Something that needs to be, because that's something we've all become accustomed to at every race we go to. Lord, I never bring any food anymore. We used to,
right,
when we come to these events, I would pack a refrigerator full of stuff and I'd bring every bit of it back home because there's so many food vendors. So now I've quit taking, a bunch of food.
right,
If I show up and ain't nobody cooking, I'm pissed.
right. Yeah.
So I don't know. That's something they need to address. And hopefully they do. They've got another race next month in May at Morris Mountain. I believe that's down in your way too in Alabama.
Right. That's actually going to be our closest race of the year. So, Morris Mountain used to be the home of RBD, kind of made famous by Ricky Berry. That's where he started out having his little birthday bash ride. So, it's a pretty cool park. It's not a really large park, but it's got me curious to wondering where they're going to race at the park because we've seen so many different uh, styles of trail riding and racing at that park. So I'm curious to see where they're going to have the event.
So if that's closer than some of these other parks to you, that thing's got to be in your back door then.
So we're lucky. Hawk Pride's about 3 hours away from us, 3.5 hours. Stony Lonesome, we used to race there a good bit. It's about 2.5 hours. Chocolaco is about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. Top Trails is about an hour and a half away, and Morse Mountain is probably right out an hour away.
Dude, that used to be Kentucky 5 years ago
Right,
for me. Used to, I could be, we would have a race at Wildcat. We'd have a race at Blue Holler. We'd have a race at Dirty Turtle. We'd have a race at Dirt Nasty. We'd go to Rush. And then you drop into Tennessee. You got Windrock.
right,
All right here. It was all so concentrated around us. And I think that was actually at the detriment of some of these races because it was so saturated up here. There were so many people almost lost interest in it because there was a race somewhere every weekend.
right.
Yeah, but I liked it because it was close to home. They had a rush this weekend as well as the Outlaw race, and I noticed, and this is something we've not, I've mentioned in the podcast last week, but we didn't really talk about it because we really didn't have any details.
Right.
And I didn't want to say anything out of turn. I kind of wanted to make sure it was public before we talked about it.
Right.
So at Rush, we all seen Kenneth Cozine driving the Misfit buggy. Uh, so Wade has stepped out of racing. Wade Goode says it's for medical and family issues, I guess.
Right.
Just doesn't want to hurt himself driving a race car. Wants to make sure he is there for his family. Said he's had some neck issues along the way. So Kenneth is going to take over that car until it sells.
Right.
So that's huge. Rock Mountain has lost Timmy Cameron. He's a dirt late model racer now.
Right.
And then his biggest competition, Wade, is now technically he's still, I guess, leading the points in the National Rock Racing Association.
Right.
And Kenneth is going to drive it until it sells.
Right.
But it is for sale. So if anybody buys that buggy, it could possibly come with a points lead.
Right.
I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, that's two big
So
hits in a
what?
matter of 6 months.
My thing was I wanted to respect Wade and his privacy, and as well as I do, it's hard to get Wade on camera and get him to talk.
Yeah.
Uh, Wade's one of those type of people you got to get him warmed up, and he's newly married, got Mahaley, and they've been redoing a home up in Kentucky. So I feel like he does have some neck injuries, which we've been told. So I feel like it's one of those things that life is getting in the way. You've got to choose family over racing. You've got to choose your health over racing. And I can't knock him for it. We missed him at the Outlaw race. I felt like Cozine would be there running for them at the Outlaw race, but due to the rules, Cozine was not able to run for Wade for more than 2 consecutive races. And Cozine has also driven to get points for Clint Garrison earlier in the season. So that knocks him out of the Outlaw points. As far as National Rock or Pro Rock racing, either of those two series, there's really no strains on how many races you can run or have an alternate driver per vehicle or
Yeah,
whatever.
so Pro Rock, I don't even think Pro Rock does a championship. I don't think that really matters. I think it's just a event
right.
based. In the National Rock Racing Association, the rules are, and now I don't know what Cozine has done this year. If he has already raced for his own points, then he would be ineligible to run for Wade.
Right.
If he has raced for somebody else's points, he would be ineligible to run for Wade. So
Right.
the rules are when you sign up at the beginning of a season, you're allowed a teammate, and you can put that on your entry list or whatever. And you and your teammate can run as much as you want for 1 points.
Right.
You just can't run. So like Kenneth could run hill 1 at a park, and Wade could run hill 2.
Right.
But they can't run the same hill.
Right.
And then outside of that, you're also allowed 2 other substitute drivers in the National Rock, and that all counts towards your points. But from what I understand, if that driver has already raced for points for somebody else, then they are no longer able to run for somebody. It's a little confusing. I just confused myself a little bit, but that's okay.
But as far as I know, Cozine has not. But we'd have to look back.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But that's when talking to Cozine, he said that was his main goal, was to ensure that Wade stays at least in the points.
Yeah, and listen, Cozine's a wheelman. I mean, he's had good luck out of Donkey. That's an old buggy. And
Right.
And he's had several good runs with it and some podium finishes, and you put him in the Misfit and he goes straight to second his first run. with probably zero practice time.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. As far as Wade leaving, you know, I don't care what anybody does. We race because we love it. If you don't love it, don't race. And I'm not
Right.
saying Wade doesn't love it, but that's his decision to do. So more power to him. Listen, I tried to run. The reason I quit racing, one, I just wasn't no damn good at it. Two, it hurt.
Right.
My back would absolutely kill me the next day. And at some point, you got to make a decision because you got to go to work.
That's right.
Almost everybody that does this has got a job. Well, everybody does, as far as I know. Has got
Right.
some sort of job. And you depend on that to allow you to go race. And if you can't go to work on Monday, then there's no racing on Saturday.
That's right.
So, yeah, I completely understand getting out before it becomes an issue. So, I don't know. We just wish him the best in his family and his health. Hope all goes well. I hope, man. I think they should just team up and let Cozine drive that dude the rest of the year. Finish it out. They're already halfway through. Like that Timmy. A lot of times he would sell his buggies in the middle of summer on the condition that
Right.
it finished the year.
Right.
That'd be cool to see Cozine finish the year out for him and get him up on top.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
All right. So I've had a couple people ask me for some updates about the new Rock Life race buggy. The only updates that I have is we have taken everything to Gilbert. I don't think we've made much progress. We're sticking with a Polaris Razor based buggy. It's going to be the same stuff that we had before. We did go hydro steer. Got new shocks, new suspension. Everything's sitting there. At some point you'll have to come up and get fitted for the seat and pedals. And once we get to that point, it won't be long. So hopefully we'll be there soon. It's going to be a good looking rig. We've got some. I know what it looks like in my head,
Right.
and you can see we're already thinking about color schemes. I hope you like blue.
Oh,
So I don't know. Maybe we'll still get to break that out sometime in the back half of the season. RC guys, listen up. Remote control car, Razor Ray. If you don't know, Losi come out with a. It's based on their Ray platform, which if you're into RCs, you know what that is. It's a Razor Ray. It looks like the Pro R Razor.
right.
Killer RC, Cash Leroy, and I think it's Outbound RC are
Right.
having a Razor Ray build-off. They've done this once before, I think, with a Rift. This time they're doing it with a Razor Ray, and I'm kind of excited to see how this turns out.
Oh yeah.
It should be good. I've seen some sneak peeks of. Okay, let me back up. How this got started was I reached out to one of the builders that were just mentioned, and I was like, "Man, I've been trying to get him to build the Rock Off Wonder Buggy, Dale Earnhardt Buggy, whatever. I've been trying to get him to build that for a year,
Right.
and he couldn't do it because." I wanted it done on a Rift, but it makes sense. Rift is a Rift RC is a solid axle. Razors are independent. The
Right.
proportions just wouldn't be right. So when they came out with this Razor Ray, I sent him a picture. I was like, "Hey, let's build that buggy now." And he's like, "Dude, I'm on it. I'm on it. Send it to me." So I sent him the buggy. And actually, before it ever hit the UPS truck to go to this builder, I get a message from one of the other builders. There's like, "Hey, I heard so-and-so's doing this, blah, blah, blah." Next thing you know, we've got a Razor Ray, Losi Razor Ray build-off. As far as I know, the rules are in this build-off, it's going to be a stock Razor Ray, so they're not doing like any big aftermarket parts. This is just going to be like a chassis styling uh, builder kind of deal. There's no aftermarket shocks, trailer arms, yada yada yada.
Right.
But as far as I know, they're all going to be red. They're all going to have black panels, and you can thank me for that.
That's cool.
It's going to be neat. I seen the video. He sent me my guy sent me a video of the one. And listen, this is no secret. When it comes out, everybody's going to know which one is mine because it looks just damn like the rock off buggy. I mean, it's almost to the T.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he sent me a video. It's got like 8 panels in it. Like he put, on the side of the buggy, it's got like the 3 individual panels.
Right.
It's got all of them. It's got the hood panel. It's got the roof panel. And I was like, man, you didn't have to do all that. Like you could have one sheeted the side. I'd have been fine. He's like, no,
Right.
no, I'm building it. And I'm like, dude, whatever. So that's going to be
So
cool.
this will be the first actual UTV buggy
Uh,
build off.
it'll be the first build off. It's not the first one.
Okay.
It's not the first one built. There is somebody else who has already built one, and to me, it looks more like a Rift based chassis buggy,
Right. Okay.
just with independent suspension. Now, the rules on this build off is it has to look like a UTV.
That's it.
It
Yeah.
has to be definable as a UTV or a UTV buggy. So it's got to continue to look like, I think one of the guys might be using some of the body panels off the old
Right.
one to incorporate into the chassis. Ours, and I'm not building it. I say ours. Ours looks just like the Wonder Buggy, so they can't say that's not a UTV. And I'm not sure what the other guy's building. That's going to be a complete surprise. But the
Right.
voting on that, I think, takes place on May 10th. So what they're going to
Okay.
do, and I think this is on RC Command, I think, is the one who's actually running the build off. And he's going to post pictures of the buggies with no affiliation to the builder.
Right.
It's going to be buggy 1, buggy 2, buggy 3. They're going to set up a way for you to vote. I don't know if anybody wins anything other than saying they won. But I know who we're voting for, who I'm voting for. Dude, I'm excited.
That'll be cool.
It is cool. I've gotten into this RC stuff lately, and it's thanks to the guys who run the RC class at our events.
Right.
You watch them dudes, and it's like, man, I want one of them. I just can't drive one well enough to compete. But this one's going to be a showpiece.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, without getting into that part too deep, I have actually ran the RC class. I decided to give it a shot. You've got to try it.
When did you run it?
I
Was it like the first year?
Okay, so I've only ran once, and I drove at Bikini Bottoms, and it was right when they first started the series.
Yeah, that'd been the first year, probably springtime.
And I was always just against it, just because I didn't have time. And then something was like, I don't remember what it was. Somebody had an RC car. I know you had talked about it, and I run across a deal on an RC car, and I gave that one to you.
Yeah.
For a sponsor gift. So it wasn't like a week later I found another one. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna get one to play with it too. Well, it wasn't too long after that they were talking about how a stock Yeti basically won the RC class, and the guy won like $1,000.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, we're definitely on this now. So I had my RC. I took it out there and I signed up, and I was like, okay, here's my stipulations. We've got to race first. As long as we don't break anything, we'll run the race. Well, you know how we are at Bikini Bottoms. We're always tethered to the excavator. So we're getting toted out of there working on parts. Well, at the end of the race, the guy comes up and he says, "Hey, Dan, you going to race?" And I was like, I thought I'd missed the race. He said, "Well, you missed hill 1 because you're working on Razor, but you can run hill 2." So I was like, "Okay, well, I'll give it a try." Man, I walked down there thinking there was going to be like 5 people there. There was no lie, about 75 people down there.
Oh
They
yeah,
had they had everything specked out, and it looked like a 1/10 scale National Rock Racing race.
dude, they've got little starting gates, and
Oh,
it's unreal.
but dude, it was. I was embarrassed because I'd just been thrown out in front of all these people. I was like, "When do I go?" He's like, "Oh, right now." And I look like there's like 80 people staring at me like, "Damn it, Dan, come on, let's go. You're holding us up." And I didn't know where to stand. I didn't really know how to hold my remote control. I didn't know the rules other than once you let the car go, you can't touch it. So we ran and flipped over, thank goodness, and I was done in about 5 seconds. So I tucked my 12 between my legs and I ran off.
Dude,
But
we have thought about racing. Of course, Lane that works here with us, he's into RC cars, and we've talked
right,
about racing it a couple because I've got a Rift and I was going to let him race that, and then he's built in
yeah,
a metal chassis Rift, and every time of course, when we go to the events, we're working.
right,
We don't get a whole lot of time to play, but every time we have decided that we're going to try and race, or I'm going to let him race. I'm not doing it.
right,
We never know when they're going to do it because they used to do it during the lunch break.
right. Now it's at the end of the race, so
See,
that's a
that's
lot less stress.
it's less stressful for them, but the exit crowd has our vendor booth covered up,
Right.
and so we never get to go and never know when it's happening. But maybe one of these days we'll get in there.
Oh yeah, that's a definitely a bucket list thing. I think you'd enjoy it.
If we make it to Bikini Bottoms, we may take the Razor Ray chassis, as long as somebody promises to bring an excavator to haul it back to the trailer for us.
Yeah, little RC excavator to
Yeah,
put it on.
yeah. All right. I think we glossed over Top Trails. We were going to talk about that.
Yeah, I've been trying not to mention that because you got me in trouble.
Well,
So
you know.
we uh, let's just say that we had prior obligations, and now we're going to Top Trails, and I've got to figure out something to take Jodi on a date to wear her dress that she had purchased strictly for this event that we were supposed to have gone to.
Well, we'll just have a. They're having a big party, I think, Friday night down there.
Right.
She can
So that's
she
what
can just wear it then.
I told you to wear that dress to the Top Trails this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. That she's probably going to see a whole lot. A whole lot worse than a nice dress. So,
Right.
I
But
mean,
I think it's going to be a good event. No kidding. We're excited to go.
it is,
Um,
man. It's been a long time since I've been genuinely pumped up for an event,
right.
and I don't know why. I've never been to Top Trails, never been to a Southern Bounty event. I just think for me, it's. I've got a lot of friends that are going to be there. I've not seen the guys from LNW in quite some time.
Right.
Levi Carter from Carter's Off Road is going to be there. Just several people that I don't get to see very often. I'm coming to their neck of the woods, and everything they have told me about this event is it is a really good event. Lots of
Right.
people, lots of things to do, good time, and I'm just excited to be somewhere new for a change. I guess the last new park that I went to, of course they're all new the first time you go, but I guess the last new park I went to was down in Indian Mountain a couple years ago.
Right.
And that was a good time. That was one of their first events at that park, and
That's right.
that was a crazy, crazy. I mean, there was people everywhere there. So somewhere like Top Trails in that vicinity. The week after the big Talladega race, just a mile or two up the road.
Right.
I think it's going to be great, and $16,000 in prizes for the hill climb portion of it,
Right.
$25,000 for the bounty hole portion of it. that's a pretty good payday. So hopefully we get some plenty of UTVs, plenty of rock bouncers. I know the schedule this spring has been hectic,
Right.
but hopefully this should be the last really big event until the Morris Mountain Outlaw race. So hopefully some of the rock bouncer guys will come down there and try and take some money home with them.
Right.
It's going to be a
We
good
did.
time.
Right. We did try to inform everybody that was at the Chocolaco race for Outlaw. As far as big bouncers go, I know that Tony had trouble in the past, accessing some of the big bouncer guys, and wanted to see that side grow. So,
Well, I think the problem is, and the mud stuff is typically UTV oriented.
right,
So when they add a hill climb in with mud stuff, they just genuinely think UTVs. I
right,
don't think the big bouncers, unless you say bouncer class on your
right,
flyer. Maybe they didn't know last year. This year we've done a little work, tried to get it more known that there is actually a bouncer class going to happen.
right,
And listen, Five Hills is rough. Don't get me wrong, but it's very doable. You've had some pretty good runs there, and I think they've cut the bottom of that hill out a little bit.
right. We've made any runs there since they've done that,
Mm-mm.
and I was wanting to say that last year is when they dug the hill out.
Yeah, I think it was like last fall.
So, we're anxious to see how those hills have changed, and then, uh, I know that they said that they cleared that area out for spectator viewing.
Hmm.
So it ought to be interesting, and also I don't know if they run the UTVs at night, but their goal was to run some of the big bouncers at night. So that'll be interesting.
The hill climb scheduled to start at 7. Don't know what that is as far as daylight hours in Alabama. Up here, that's still daylight for another hour and a half or so. So I'd say it'll all run into the night because I expect a big UTV crowd at the very least, and hopefully we can get 8, 10, 12, 16 bouncers down there. Put on a good show. I think it's going to be a good time. I'm actually, I didn't tell you this. I'm getting my dad out of the house. It's the first race he's been to in, probably a year. He used to go with us to a bunch, and he's coming down. He's going to be with us Thursday. So
Good deal.
he's bringing some special for you guys. So
Oh yeah.
good times. Good times are going to be had. All right. We've rambled on for about 30 minutes now. We'll just wrap with that. Look forward to seeing everybody this weekend at Top Trails. You can go back and listen to the last episode. We had Tony Ramos on there with us. He tells you all about the event, where to find information. Make sure you get on their website and get the rules, get the whatever you need to know. Be at the park. Hill climbs Saturday at 7. Excuse me. Hill climb Saturday at 7 p.m. Bounty Hole at noon. As far as I know, I think they're having music both Friday and Saturday night. I don't think there's any actual events Friday other than the music. Should be a good time though. Big crowd. You got anything else?
That's it.
Right on. We'll see you guys.